Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, quite a little question in the shot. Okay, so you've now seen, hopefully you've watched tutorial 1, tutorial 2, and tutorial number 3 in the Fortress Mental Health Protection System series. This live that I'm doing here now is an opportunity for people to ask any questions that they've got, anything that they're not clear on, because anything that you ask me now, I can integrate into the tutorials coming up. So anything you're not sure of, anything that didn't make sense. One of the things that somebody asked in the last in that premiere there is, how do you know the difference? A couple of people asked variations of the question between emotional flashbacks and emotions. So confusing, because I'm saying you need to reduce emotional flashbacks, but you need to honor your emotions and welcome them. And they're like, that seems to be two different things. Well, an emotional flashback is not an emotion. An emotional flashback is more akin to a protective response from the primal levels of the human system. It's like an alarm. It's an alarm that's bleating and blaring. And it's not there to teach you anything or show you anything. It's just there to say something's wrong and you need to protect yourself. So it's kind of dumb, because an alarm in a house or a building, when there's an alarm, the alarm can't tell you how many people have broken in, you know, how old they are, what their purpose is. It just goes, do something now, do something now, do something now. An emotion can tell you with great nuance exactly what's going on. When you get good at the emotional literacy exercise, and when you get good, it's only like the time you've done 20 mind maps and you've drawn out 20 mind maps, which should takes like less than a month. And months, you know, for people watching this are over the age of 30, a month goes like that. So once you've got 20, you're good at mind maps. So you're good at emotional literacy maps, which look like mind maps. So you'll be able to go, okay, even if you don't have the time to sit down and write it out, you'll be like, damn, I'm feeling something. What is this? You'll be like, I'm pissed off. Really? And what's behind the feeling like pissed off? Well, actually, I feel betrayed. Checking with my feelings. Actually, I'm really disappointed. Straight away, you've added two new words that advance the intelligence you have now gathered about how you're responding to the environment hugely. Betrayed and, what did I say? Disappointed. Stuff doesn't tell you anything really, but that's protective. That's like, I'm just mad. Okay, but behind your madness and your anger, what are you? I'm hurt. Okay, why don't you say you're hurt? Well, in this world, in this life, it's hard to lead with the vulnerability of hurt. It opens you up for more hurt. So we're more likely to respond with, I'm pissed off, or as the Americans insist on saying, I am pissed, which in United Kingdom, the British Isles, means I'm drunk. I'm drunk with my own rage. What you're saying, I'm pissed. You get to a deeper level understanding of what's going on when you have a nuanced vocabulary for what you're feeling. That's how you honor your feelings, and that leads you to a stronger place, because you might be living a story like, I'm pissed off with my husband, I'm pissed off with my girlfriend. It's interesting. I remember sitting between a couple, dragged me into their argument. They had that kind of a relationship, like super open, super modern. No, we've known you for 25 years. We can have this argument in front of you. And I was like, you could, but it's 1 a.m. and just please. And I was dragged into it. I remember at one point, just like going, okay, because you put me in this position, I said to the girl is talking to the boy. Well, they're both older than me. The woman is talking to the man, And I turned to her and I said, if you changed one word, it would change this whole scenario. She was like, what? What word would change this? I was like, you keep telling him what he's doing makes you angry. I know him. I know you. And I know that actually you're not angry, you're hurt. That's what I know. And I know him well enough to know that if he knows that you're hurt, he won't let you be hurt. So he'll actually make the change you want him to make. But if you keep telling him you're angry, he just goes into stubborn little child mode and fights back. So even when we're interacting with each other, our emotional literacy could be improved. Perhaps I'm moving beyond the realms of the horse's mental protection system. If you've got any questions specifically about that, please feel free to ask. Lisa says, it's so good to distinguish between emotion and emotional flashback. I always get them confused. It's the beginning of your healing process when you can distinguish between emotion and an emotional flashback. Yuki Rose says, no, boundary break, lol. I was laughing. I was like, you guys, this is not how people. It didn't change anything, by the way. They're both so stubborn. So stubborn. She refused to say that she was hurt. She just refused. Totally, animus possessed. Annie Welker, aren't you kind of like going back in time when having a flashback? Yeah, kind of. That's why it's called a flashback. Or just into a twisted frame of emotions directing to the initial wound or feeling. It's going to be worth for you, Annie, and for everybody watching to watch the tutorials that I've already done on the channel, because it goes into like a step-by-step, a teenager could, an intelligent teenager is definitely going to grasp everything I'm saying description. So, we'll explain to you how with Judith Herman, she coined the idea. She's now a top professor of psychology, I think at Harvard, something. She's busy lady. It's her term. Historically, CPTSD, really, if we're explaining it, you've got to understand PTSD, because it's like an offshoot of PTSD. So here's PTSD, and here's not an opposite model, but like it uses the PTSD model, but with contrasting elements. So that's why we say flashback, because in PTSD you have visual, auditory, and physical flashbacks. So if an IED goes off next to my vehicle in Afghanistan, and the vehicle is spun in the air, there are guys and bulls out there who come home and they drive along and they're driving to Target to pick up some milk or whatever, and they go too near to the curb, because apparently the habit in Afghanistan and in Iraq for the soldiers out there is to stick to the middle of the road. But you're not, because the IEDs are at the side. So they go too close to the curb, it can trigger a flashback. Emotion will be there of like panic and fear and helplessness and whatever else you might feel. Then there's the visual memory of seeing everything go upside down, be the feeling and the sound of like glass breaking, the feeling of being spun in the vehicle. So that's a flashback. That's a PTSD flashback. That's not a normal. You're careful. That's a standard description flashback. We have none of the visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. Just the emotions. Only the emotion. They have emotions too, but we have only the emotion. Why is this such a big deal? The layperson, you might be like, oh, like why complicate it? It's like people have given me that kind of comment, like, this sounds like psychobabble. It's made this really complicated. The difference over time, though, when you're working with people a lot, if you have a client who doesn't know why they're feeling what they're feeling, then if you've got any experience, the very next thing that kicks in is self-blame, self-loathing, guilt, and toxic shame, which then takes them into further down the spiral, which makes it even harder to pull them out. So no hard and fast rules here. Don't hear like a 15-second clip of me freestyling on YouTube and then turn it into some rock solid golden rule. It just doesn't work like that. But generally speaking, it's less confusing when you have PTSD, because you can go, oh, I had that thing today where I drove to the shop, I went too close to the curb, and boom, I went into this emotional state, and then afterwards I had the pronounced desire to gamble again. And then afterwards I had the pronounced desire to drink an entire liter and a half of vodka again. Whatever the state management, the maladaptive or bad state management technique is, reduce that feeling of anxiety and helplessness. So that's why we do it that way. I'm sympathetic to notion that it sounds like it's being made overcomplicated, but if there's no visual, auditory, or kinesthetic feedback, and the client doesn't know where it's coming from, and they'll just go to the conclusion, which is what they've heard their whole lives, by the way, just fucking crazy. My mum was right. My dad was right. My abusers were correct. And there is something wrong with me. Look at me. I can't go to the shop. That was me. Go to the shops without sweating with fear. Newsagents, sorry, you don't know the newsagencies, but like a corner shop, a bodega, to buy milk, I would sweat with fear. Why? Because the shop assistant would look at me, and then I'd have to speak words to them. I'd be like this with the money. It's a barrel of laughs. It's a fucking barrel of laughs. Depression and anxiety and mental health issues just make life hella fun. Somebody was asking me in the last one, how did you get through college? I'm not sure I did. It was horrendous. School was bad, but when I got to what we would call, you guys call it college, we call university, it was a nightmare. And I would find if I went to the university lectures, my social anxiety was so strong, I would do a few lectures and speak to a few people. I really couldn't take any information in because I was flashbacking so hard. And then I'd come back to my flat, my mum's or whatever, and I'd crash out. I'd sleep for like 2 hours, like a blank coma like sleep. 4 hours at university and then 2 hours of sleep. It was just hard, bloody hard, really, really hard. The only time I was happy was when I was in the gym, was when I was doing martial arts, which I think is why I got good, because to avoid work, thank God I didn't enter drugs or alcohol. I found them boring. I couldn't be bothered with them. I just immersed myself in martial art. I just immersed myself in training, and did as little psychology study as I could because I thought it was nonsense. If I'd had Pete Walker and Judith Herman as my lecturers, I'm sure I'd have had a very nice time. Okay, guys, if you've got any questions about the Fortress Mental Health Protection System, please feel free to ask. Make them one sentence long and end in a question mark, and I'll do my best. How do you mean with agency in the video? Agency means that you have the power of agency, like an agent. If somebody's a secret agent or an FBI agent or whatever, they have power and authority imbued upon them by an organization. So it's your agency is your power and authority in your own life, if you like. So that's what makes you you're not an agent for anybody. You have agency. You are not an agent. You are the institution itself, the institution of you. Sounds somewhat narcissistic, but this is where the development of proper ego boundaries comes from, where you have to be like, okay, the institution of me, it's saying I want this, and this, and this is the way it's going to go down. This is the way it's going to happen, and it's where self-interested action comes from as well, of course. I had to quit college after a mental breakdown. I don't think I could ever go back after that experience. I'm very sorry to hear that, Kat. You have my sympathy, because I found it incredibly difficult. I used to have nightmares, not nightmares, but very violent dreams where I always had to run and fight to save my life. You had to fight or flight to save your life. And now I'm realizing I haven't had them for some time. You might be doing some healing work. Marina, I think you said yesterday, or for another live, that your responses had shifted, like you've gone from fight to flight or freeze to fawn. even that's not great. Obviously, we don't want to be in a primal response, but even if your primary shifts, it's still progress. In late 2015, I noticed that my fight response went to a freeze response. So I wasn't getting rage attacks anymore, but I was hitting depression. That's what put me back into therapy in 2016. Resonates 222. What if I can say no to helping an entitled person, but can't say no to helping this culture that I feel is an entitled person? I think that you should do what you think is best in your life, and you know, you should be aware of what your values are and what you are prepared to do and what you. It's okay, man. You can be like, I'm not going any further than this, and you should feel comfortable with saying no to certain things. That's called having boundaries. That's it. One the studio says, "Hello, I have a question regarding CPT." I'm laughing because you started your question with question in capitals. I have a question regarding CPTSD and recurring nightmares. Is there a link between the two? Is that a form of a flashback? No. I think the best answer I can give you in a short form, like answering questions here, is no. There is going to be a link between your emotional flashbacks, where you're up to in life, your defense mechanism, your ego boundary breaks, and the dreams that you have. Sure. So when there is it's more complicated than, oh, these dreams are an emotional flashback. It would be, so if I was to give you a way of understanding it yourself, the emotional flashbacks are conscious and semi-conscious. They're conscious and unconscious. I got asked a question yesterday whether they affect the sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous system. I'm like, well, does sneezing and blowing your nose affect one of those systems or both of those systems? Or, you know, we can't. It's a model for understanding a learned pattern of behavior that is protective, but it's not so neat, fortunately. If you're flashbacking hard, you're going to have different dreams, sure, than if you are not flashbacking. But the dreams, in my view, are communications from the unconscious that come through symbolically to give you an indication of what needs looking at in your life in order for you to move on. So if you're having a recurring dream, there's a pattern of behavior or a pattern of beliefs inside of your head that's been running a long time that it might be time to move beyond. I've got a question there and then I scooted past that. Excuse me. Okay, a lot of questions here. That's great. Okay. Fire says, can a covert and overt narcissist be married for 50 plus years? What would that be like as an example? The dynamics. I think for tonight, I'm gonna stick to the Fortress Mental Health Protection System as the topic. I'm gonna stick on. Just as an aside, like I really couldn't say, and I would be at this point. How should I put it, comrade? There is an explosion on YouTube particularly in the last 3 years, of pundits, talking heads, and people speaking about narcissism. There's a lot of stuff out there that is not based on people bothering to read the research or bothering to read the books. And they're just making stuff up. Most people who use the term covert and overt don't even. You've learned it because you're watching YouTube videos like mine. It's cool, man. It's a free market. Everybody do whatever they want. It's fine. I don't go on my channel and be like, hey, these people are. This is not telling you the right things, because I just kind of feel like it's not my thing. That's not my bag. And the chance that you, I mean this with all respect, the chance that you have accurately diagnosed an overt and a covert narcissist, which is internet slang, by the way, that's not clinical definition. Overt narcissist and covert narcissist, clinically and in the literature, is a classical grandiose narcissist and a fragile, vulnerable narcissist living together. Chances that you've accurately diagnosed them is really small. Really, really small. It might feel that way. It might seem that way. You might be like, oh, I saw this YouTube video or that, and it seems to be this way. Probably isn't the full story. So it comes to me with a premise, and I'm like, well, okay, let's build a model of how that would play out as if I know. One thing I would tell you is like when there are two narcissistic personality types together, it seems to take turns in eating people, but in eating people, in eating each other. As for this particular side of things, which is a bit like, I don't know, it doesn't feel to me like a sincere drive to heal from genuine mental health issues. It's kind of like, I don't know. I don't, clinicians won't do it. Like, oh, I'm not going to talk about somebody who's not in the room, which is a good rule to have. Really, really good rule to have. Even grow. Can real progress be made solely by working your emotional literacy exercise and program and without talk therapy? Real progress for a human being could be made by taking a holiday, reading a good book, reading a philosophy book, by reconnecting with their religion or exploring a new religion. It could be taken by, it could be got by taking a psychedelic, by starting a relationship or ending a relationship. Real progress, sadly or I think frustratingly for the licensed practitioners and the people who believe in the egg. I do believe in the egg. I do think that it's useful to keep within the boundaries of qualifications and licenses, because there are people out there who are just absolute shysters. And at least if somebody has a license and a qualification, or in my case, at the very least, a degree and experience, at least you know they've shown the self-discipline to put in a bit of work. But frustratingly for those people, there is no provable correlation between licensing and skill. There's no provable correlation between certification, education, qualification, and effectiveness. In fact, many people on this chat will have worked with therapists who are extremely qualified. One of the recurrent comments you'll get all the time is that people get more out of watching 2 or 3 videos from me talking than they do with 10 1-hour sessions over 10 weeks with a counselor or a coach or therapist. Sometimes, not always. I would say if somebody thinks that, if anybody ever comes to me and says, do you think I should get talk therapy? My standard answer would be, there's no way a book or a course online should be in theory as effective as face-to-face therapy with a qualified therapist. Shouldn't be. There's a human being in front of you who's sincere and authentic and wants to help. You should be able to tailor the program to suit you. However, we live within capitalism, comrade, and there's a lot of money in this, which is why we are seeing such an explosion in the YouTube channel. It's big money, proper amounts of money. Coaching and psychotherapy, psychiatry, it's always been big money. And people are getting paid, and whilst people are getting paid, there's this wonderful thing from, I always get these two confused. There's the Tao Te Ching, which describes the Tao, and then there's the I Ching, which is like the Chinese oracle, the Chinese tarot. I remember reading that when I was a kid. I used to get obsessed with the I Ching, and one of the readings that I got was about commerce, and went into this thing saying whenever money changes hands, according to Taoism, according to Confucianism, according to the superior way laid out by the I Ching, there's always corruption. Where there's money, there's corruption. Where there's commerce, there's corruption. So I think that's probably an overstatement. I like using it as a guide. I'm like, you've always got to be careful when there's money involved. So I would say my standard response, and it's a little bit facetious, is if you feel like you should see a therapist, and yeah, try and see a therapist face to face. Maybe what can be done is you can use the emotional literacy work with a therapist. But look at it from the other side of the coin. If I'm out here online saying you don't need therapy, just buy my courses. Actually, the emotional literacy course is now free. I would set myself up, right? That would be a setup. I have to be very, very careful with things like that. You get a good coach, and if you just get a halfway decent counselor, open-minded, and you like chatting to them, it's going to help. There's no way that won't help. It's just most of the people who come to me, they already did that, and they're exasperated with the licensed professionals, so they come to me. I'm like their last choice. If you need it, that's what you do. That's what you do. You see a qualified professional therapist, and seeing them face to face is the best. Jane asks, I'm doing really well most days. I'm sticking to my routine and the things that work and make me okay, which is good. People with CPTSD, people who are traumatized, are good working inside of a routine and with discipline. But I still get random days where I can't even leave the house. Does this get better? Truth. Lane, it usually won't get better on its own. Like, you should do things that you think are going to help you to heal. You should spend time on it. You should work on it. The hurt that is done in the most intimate places, and that damage is hard to resolve, no doubt. There's no magic bullet here. The more intimate, the bigger the damage in the more intimate place. If you like a model, like if you take like a cell, and then there's the nucleus in the middle, and then the cell, the biological cell. The cell membrane is perforated and something gets in. Perforation is damage. This is bad. The closer it gets to the nucleus, the more the damage is. If it sucks out all the goodness, including the nucleus, then it's really, really bad. So this is not easy stuff to resolve. It's really not. Like, nobody is going to pump up rah-rah 4-day seminar somewhere. Hey, let's settle, like, yay, and then just boom, I'm good, man. Fuck, so glad I dropped $5,000 on that 4-day seminar. I'm hyped, starting my new state agency business on the side, you know. Nah, not for us. Not for us. Because it's not, first of all, it's not the type of help we need. And second of all, it's not intrusive enough. If you go back and watch tutorial 2 and tutorial 3, this is brought up, the trauma was done by conditioning, which is over and over and over again, across time and across multiple contexts. So what we need, our remedy, our cure, our medicine, needs to look like that. It needs to be over time, multiple. It's going to be, some days you're going to have to clock some amount of days of self-care balanced with self-discipline, of regulating your emotional state, of doing your emotional literacy work. I'm going to lie, man. You're going to cry. You're going to cry. You do the emotional literacy work. If you reduce your emotional flashbacks and then you expand your emotional literacy, you're creating space. You're creating space. You're like the space between the trigger and the flashback. You're creating that space and you're expanding that space. And in that space, there's healing. Healing is just unicorns and bunny rabbits and rainbows and yummy gummy bears. No, it's not. Sometimes healing fucking sucks. And you'll cry, and you'll grieve, and you'll feel loss, because with time you'll come to have a sober perspective, a cleaned perspective of what happened, and you'll be like, damn, it's heavy, man. It's really, really heavy, and it's hard. It's hard. By then, you'll only get to that place at the point where the system feels that you're ready enough to take it. So you're going to do your free weight squats, then you're going to squat with a bar. Then after 3 to 4 months of that, then we're going to start slowly loading the weight on the bar. We're going to slowly increase the amount of weight. We're going to slowly increase the amount of reps. And then maybe after 9 to 12 months, you've got the space. But it really is, it's like strength training. It's a skill. Recovery is a skill. Recovery is a strength. Skills and strengths are developed over time through repetition and diligence. It will be hard at first, but everything is hard at first. Who said that? Legendary samurai swordsman Miyamoto Musashi said that in the 16th century. It will be hard at first, but everything is hard at first. You were not trained to look after yourself. I cannot look after you, because if I look after you, I will be your cult leader and you'll be bonded to me for life. So all I can do is train you to look after yourself in the way that I trained me to look after myself. That's it. It's, you're on a desert island, you're starving, you're dying of thirst, and I'm dropping food and I'm dropping liquids for you. It's not delicious. It's not delicious food, and it's water. And I'm like, yeah, you'll survive there, man. You'll survive. You'll build up your strength until you can build a raft, until you can get home. Will you bring me a raft, Richard? Nope. Will you send me a boat? Nope. Will you float me home? Nope. Nope. I can't. There's only one of me, and there's conservative estimates. We're talking tens of thousands of people at this point who want my help, and I just can't. I just have to keep people at. I have to keep people at a distance, because I have porous ego boundaries. I am a codependent. I want to give and give and give until I'm exhausted and get shingles in my ears. We did in America. Does anybody remember that? In 2017. Yeah, moving into 2018, the year that Richard proved that he could actually work himself to death. The doctors thought I was going to lose the vision in one eye. We were really scared. I was laughing. I was like, oh, this can't be that bad. I was 30. I'm only 39. Can't be that bad. And they're like, you could lose the vision in your eye. I got shingles in the facial nerve after doing a year of work and a tour of doing free seminars in America. So I have to keep people at bay, because I don't want to die because of this work, and I don't want to be infirm. I like being healthy. And the crazy thing about getting older, these things break and you start, like, I'm really loving it now. I'm like, damn, walking. Damn, I took a walk today. I was like, this is great. I took a walk. If you go on my Instagram, I took a great walk today around a lake. Beautiful. Some good pictures. Things start to break. That's just the way it goes. Be grateful, man. Grateful every day for everything you have. Human life experience. Question. You don't have to start your questions with question. Question. After the first few days of doing the mnemonic, it started to be more dull and automatic. Avarice. Disgusting Western capitalist decadence. I feel like I'm just repeating the empty words. I'm not feeling into them. What to do about this? Listen, comrade. This is not entertainment. This is training hard. Thank you for this question. I'm going to release a video on this. That's a great question. That's a fucking great question. You know, the last time, this is my karma. The last time I ran into this, I was teaching martial arts. And I was like, okay, guys, what do you want to know? These guys, they're like hard cases, like bouncers and special forces guys, and they're killing people over there somewhere in some place. And they're tough guys, right? And they're like, well, we want the stuff that really works. I'm like, you want the stuff that's really going to work, so that if you get woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you need within inside of 10 seconds for it to be going off, and you need to be inflicting damage and injury and violence on somebody, you want that? Like, that's what we want. That's what we want. We want the training for that. Oh, I designed a program for them that was the training just for that. And you know what they said? They gave me the exact same feedback. This is boring. I'm like, who told you it was going to be fun? I never said it would be fun. I said it would work. It's conditioning. I don't know, Human Life Experience. I don't know if you're a gym goer, but there's a good book. There's a good couple of books by a Russian guy called Pavel Tatslooin. And he goes, in the books, he gives you a lot of good advice on training and whatever. I love his stuff on the work ethic. Work ethic is, this is my job. I try not to swear on this channel. I'm right, it's boring. Boring as hell. This thing with the fingers. Have you ever done any of my hypnosis audios? 30 days of the same 3-minute audio hypnosis? It's boring. Conditioning's dull. But then, in the martial arts, I developed a system of training called the Beta 8 syllabus. And the 8 was because, well, it's the 8 fists from Muay Thai. It was the physical movements around Muay Thai. There's also an infinity sign and beta brainwave state. You've got to get into work. You have to have a work ethic. You get up and you do it. It's boring. And then you go and eat food you have scheduled for the day. If you've got CPTSD, really your training should be tracked, your nutrition should be tracked, your coffee should be regulated. If you smoke, you gotta be in control of how much and when, and everything's got to be tracked. Everything's got to be regulated. Nothing fun about that. It's boring as hell at work. You want to heal, or you want to have a good time? You want to be titillated, you watch Netflix. You want to heal, you do this work. It's boring. But I never said that. I've never said, listen, it's boring and you need like a work ethic. You need a work ethic for it. Back in the day, Brazilian guys, I do mean back in the day, I'm showing my age now. The Brazilian guys were pairing up the MMA scene, pairing it up, talking late 80s, early 90s. And as for striking, it was the Thai guys were tearing it up with Muay Thai. To this day, what are known as the two primary arts of MMA, BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Muay Thai, which translates as Thai boxing. Why? These countries are in an economic situation, in a culture where training for, you just train with an infinite schedule. You just I just hang out at the gym. You do their bit and then they stop and they like have a chat. And they might eat a little bit of food. There'll be some food over in the corner. Like I was at Senchai's gym a year and a half ago. Some food in the corner you can eat if you want. And you come back and you hold the pads for somebody, and then you have a chat about something else, and then you have a go. And there's this open-ended format where you just train and train and train. I've always saying the same thing about the gyms over in Russia. You just go and train. China is crazy for the Olympic lifting. They do so well. They have thousands of guys who are just spending hours and hours every day just training. In the Western culture, it's like, I want to get this done now. How long is this going to take? I work with personal trainers right now. And if they say to their clients they want them to train more than 1 hour a week, like, I'm not paying you to tell me I'm not training more than 1 hour a week. I'm already busy. So I'm paying you. And it's like, not magicians. Seriously, like, you've got 24 hours in a day of eating and sleeping and doing whatever the hell you want. If you're not doing it an hour a day, your body's never going to change shape. And that's minimum. Your body just won't change shape. Your body's too clever. Your body's adapted. It's like, I'm changing shape for an hour a week. You fucking change shape. I'm swearing again. You change shape. I'm not changing shape. You've got to have the reps, man. You've got to put the reps in. I'm not feeling it. We'll bring the feeling. Get it from somewhere. Because do you care about your mental health or not? Do you want to get better or not? I'm not there. I can't be next to you going, come on, man. Go for it, man. Yeah, do it. Yeah, I'm not there. It's you with you. Nobody's coming to help you. Nobody's coming to rescue you. Like I said to the other lady, it's rations. It's a ration pack. Not tasty, but you'll survive. You'll survive. If you want to live, you will live. If you want to escape, you'll make it work. Or, it's up to you. It's up to you. Damn, if I'd had this stuff when I was a lad, I'd be proper grateful, I tell you. Marina says, yes, my dominant freeze fawn response has been shifting towards fight flight. So you could say there's something positive about that to the extent that, like, that means you're doing something. Where freeze fawn, you're not doing anything. It's do nothing land. Fight flight, you're doing something, but you'll make a mess. So, good. On the one hand, хорошо, Boris, but on the other hand, be careful. Be careful. I am a person who has made a mess in my life through the flight and fight response. So yeah, definitely be careful with that. What was the main turning point for you in the process of resolving depression? Figuring out, I was living in Dublin at the time, and I had a nice counsellor. Not a mind-blowing dude, but he was there. He did actually care, and he knew what was going on, and he had a sense of humour, which helped. And he guided me to a place where we realised that I was completely emotionally illiterate. I was a man who had said he valued freedom, actually had placed toughness, stoicism, a resolute determination to endure pain higher than independence and freedom. So I was completely emotionally illiterate. I could not describe my emotions, and that's why I was depressed. Also, in my unique case, but I suspect it's true for many people, I had been suppressing anger, I had been suppressing disgust, and I had been suppressing outrage and disappointment. I didn't want to tell my partner at the time, you've really disappointed me here. I should have done. It would have been the right thing to do. I'd heard that so much as a kid and found it so hurtful. I didn't want to hurt anybody like that. But had I given her that, I don't know if you were here with us earlier, that emotionally literate and accurate and nuanced and intelligent feedback, she could have acted on that. I would have been giving her data. She was a scientist, probably somewhere on the autism spectrum. And she would have been able to go, oh, at first she would have been hurt and she would have been angry, but she would have been able to internalize and go, ooh, okay, right. At least she would have had a chance. Whereas, by not telling her and remaining emotionally illiterate, she had no chance. So yeah, it was the emotional literacy that made a big difference in my depression. And full disclosure, because I am human, I am in a process myself. The last time I had a genuine bout of depression was not that long ago. It was strong. It was a good 3-day round with it, and it wasn't that long. I think it was at the end of 2019. It was the end of 2018. Looking back, I think and this was after I'd done counselling with him, and after I'd been doing the emotional literacy exercises. But when I was looking back on that, I realised that I think it genuinely was depression. I'm not going to try and mealy mouth my way around it. I think it was, but I think it was loss. It was loss. I was face to face with what I had lost and what this whole thing had cost me. What we call it CPTSD. These are clinical terms, they're polite terms, but what abuse had cost me and what trauma had cost me, and years. I'd had years. You all have this. My story is no different to yours. I had years taken away from me. It's one thing, and that sucks. I've been forced to live through years of kind of torture, really. It was a really, really nasty, it set off a really nasty sequence of events. And it made really my life up until the age of 40 was a fucking shit show. It was not by my standards at the time, because I was like, this is all I know. I'm doing okay. And where I'm from, the place in the UK where I'm from, things are bad here. Like Liverpool in the world is not good. It's not good for mental health. So I would look to the left of me and to the right of me and be like, well, I'm doing okay. By the standards I have now, I'm like, dude, you can't, like, that's not okay. None of that is okay for a person to be walking around feeling that way in their life. It's not good. It's really not good. Which is one of the reasons why I'm happy to do this for free, because I know what the torture is. I fucking know what the torture is. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. And it's not like I'm going, oh, here's a quick and easy solution for you. It's not quick and easy. I mean, that's two people now I've said, given the bad news to. Like, one person I'm saying is a cold comfort. It's not great. Because I can't attach to you. But if I could, I'd get in a time machine, I'd go back and I'd plug your parents' brains into the matrix, upgrade them, have them raise you the way that they should have done. But when I'm talking strengths and skills, these are the strengths and skills your parents, not some bloke on YouTube with a funny accent, was supposed to give you that in childhood. And your neuroplasticity and your capacity to learn is at its absolute peak. From the ages of 0 to 12, they were supposed to give you this stuff. I'm trying to give it to you in this pre-packaged way. I'm not looking into your eyes. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you are feeling. I can't know that. And I'm like, okay, I'm gone away and obsessed over it, because that's what I do. Like, I think if I present it this way, it's going to help the most people. But knowing full well it can't help everyone. There's just no way. Just no way. Then I said, not only is it boring and tasteless, but you have to do many, many reps. It's really hard work. And it takes time. Okay, which sucks, right? But the flip side of the coin is, okay, go to counseling then. Go to therapy and chat about it for 10 years. How do you feel? I feel depressed. Why do you feel depressed? Well, I feel depressed because I fell out with my best friend last week and we had an argument. This is what's wrong with my life. This is what's wrong with my life. This is how my life sucks. This is how my life sucks. Time, 60 minutes. Well done. You just practiced saying words about the worst things in your life. 60 minutes. It cost you $100 to $150. Same time next week. See you then. Nothing changes like that, man. Except you develop the skill, develop the strength of saying negative things about focusing on where your life sucks. That's, I mean, you lay it out like that, it's just wooden-headed to think that that's a route to healing. What's therapy? We sit in a room, you and I, two adults, ask you questions about what's wrong. You tell me why you think it's wrong. We just do that for 60 minutes. It's more than that. I should stop saying this. You know what? The vast majority of psychotherapists and counselors and psychiatrists who watch me, and you'd be surprised at how many you do, take everything I say about psychotherapy with good humor. Overwhelming majority, like 99%, take it with good humor. They're like, yeah, I kind of only watch me because they're like, yeah, I kind of always felt that way. I don't have the liberty to go on YouTube and say it. All right, let's take another question. It's quite a bit of reframing of a therapeutic process. Yes, but it's a good reframe. Even grow. Even grow. If I could sing, I'd sing that. I'll jam it. Given what you have been discussing, progress and healing from childhood-based CPTSD present any unique challenges for those of us past 40 years? No. I think no. is probably the easiest thing I can say. Except, go back to this chair, and I did today, and now I'm feeling it. Okay. It's an advantage and a disadvantage with CPTSD. You ever notice a lot of CPTSD youngers look younger than they actually are? Have you ever been to a meetup group with CPTSD people? They often look younger than their real age. I think that's interesting because CPTSD keeps us stuck in an infantile mindset. You go, oh, no, we don't want to be infantile. That sucks. Well, there's a flip side to being infantile, which is childlike and playful. When you're childlike and playful, your neuroplasticity stays high. If you're open to listening to current music, to being open to whatever what was funny in the 80s is not what's funny now, right? You're open to that. You're open to new movies. You're open to new styles, fashion, whatever. Your neuroplasticity stays high. If you're a fuddy duddy and you're like, you could be 40 or you could be 40. You don't want to be 40 or 50. You want to be like, age is just a number type of thing. That's where you want to be. So if your neuroplasticity is high and you're willing to learn, then you're okay. If you're over 40 and you're culturally indoctrinated into some sort of terminal case of seriousness, that's going to be a problem. Because sometimes I get clients. I have to be honest with you. Let me flex for a moment. I have had celebrity clients. I don't like working with them, because of that. So I'll say, "Is the stop emotional flashback exercise?" And they'll go, "That's childish." And I'll go, "Yeah. Is it as childish as having arguments inside your head with your mum from when you were 12 at 4 o'clock in the morning because you can't sleep because you've been snorting for 6 hours?" Which is the more childish one? You know what? Celebrities don't fucking like that. I'm swearing again. Sorry. Don't like that because they're usually surrounded by people who are kissing their bum. And so it's really hard that they're like, "Oh yeah, I like the Spartan life coach style. Tell it to me like it is. No bullshit. Just give it to me straight." I go, "All right, it is straight. You're spoiled. You're thin-skinned. You're weak. You're self-indulgent. Have no work ethic, and you only keep people around you who are sycophants." So, and it's tough. So that's not really an age thing, though it has happened with clients over the age of 40. It's more like an ego thing. If you've got a big ego, it can thicken over the years. It can get tougher. There's a lightness and a playfulness that needs to be there because I kind of need to access you at a younger age, really, because that's when this stuff happened. So the other thing with the Fortress mental health protection system and me going, how would I teach this stuff if I was back in the schools and I'm talking to 14, 15, 16-year-olds? This is how I would do it. So it's straight, it's leveled. Well, you all know how it is. You all know the difference between normal Spartan life coach stuff and the stuff that's here on the Fortress mental health protection system. I'm joking about stuff on Spartan life coach and being facetious. There's a level of nuance there. I expect you to understand the humor. There's a level of complexity, and I just scrubbed all that out. Because if I'm nuanced, humorous, I'm inviting you to be adult, which actually is incongruent with what really needs to happen, which is I need you to go back into a stand-up comics. What they do is they play with your ego boundaries. They play with your defense mechanisms. Fascinating subject for people with CPTSD. There's no such thing as a stand-up comic without CPTSD. Best stand-up comics, your Chris Rock, your Dave Chappelle's, your Louis C.K.'s, your George Carlin, Richard Pryor. That's a pronounced fight fawn response. Pronounced. And you're playing with the audience's defense mechanisms. That's what creates the laugh. So Doing that, it's funny. I like it, and people like it at the time. And when they're laughing, they might be more open to learn. But it's actually inviting them to be adult. And in this channel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it like, no, I want you. You can't do like I can't do it at like 10-year-old level. I mean, there's just somebody can, but it's not me. I refused to work with anybody younger than 14 because I couldn't, like a pre-ego state. I like them stroppy and rambunctious and like, I'm too cool. Listen to some teacher who's just coming in for the day. Longer than that, just do whatever. Just be like, what do you want us to do? I want you to do a mind map about this, and they'll be like, okay, and they just do it. I couldn't get my head around that conflict and needing to build rapport was always the challenging, more fun thing for me. So, but I do need you at that younger headspace. So that's something to bear in mind as well. I'm getting a lot of good stuff that I should put on other videos here. I think the work ethic is a big one, and the young person's mindset, or the neuro. I've spoken about neuroplasticity, but I'll use taking out the technical language is helpful for me. Sometimes you get lazy with the jargon. You're going to CPTSD, you need your neuroplasticity, otherwise you'll be accounts dependent with PPD. And from outside this community, you're going, what is this? You have to actually, if you make yourself say it in normal people language, you learn. You like it forces you to learn more. Sphere. Is there a difference between the first hand mnemonic from Top Emotional Flashback Training and the most recent one? Yes, it is different, isn't it? This one is me now. That one was one I designed in 2015. It's good, and it works, and it has worked for thousands of people. This one, I think, is going to be stronger. Let me share with you a little secret with this one. This one is designed in order of priority on an assumption that CPTSD and codependency are critically interrelated. So that it is not so useful to try to heal a person of CPTSD without concurrently helping them to overcome their codependency at the same time. You must do both. But I'll get into that on this channel further down in the tutorials. The codependency issue and how PTSD and codependency go hand in hand. You'll never resolve, nobody will ever resolve their codependency without resolving their emotional flashbacks, without becoming emotionally literate and learning to manage their own state. That's for sure. That's for certain. So, yeah. Questions, guys. Thank you. It helps me to think. That says, I'm getting better at seeing the red flags before I'm entrapped, but how do I encourage myself to meet new people when my only positive X is, oh, I didn't get tricked as long that time? I think for the time being, maybe maybe do like February is self-care month. Don't date for 1 month. Have that as a fire break in your life where you can look back and you go, do you remember in 2020 where I just stayed away from the whole thing for 1 month? Just focus on reducing the emotional flashbacks. Just focus on developing your emotional literacy. And then go back to it and see what happens. It's a savage landscape out there in the dating world. And if you have CPTSD, it's just a hot, molten lava of mess. There are good people out there that are. But if you're in a series of cascading emotional flashbacks, the chance of you finding them and safely attaching to them, to use the clinical language, is very slight, very slight. How do you know you're making progress and healing from CPTSR? What are the indicators? You'll feel better. You'll feel so much better. You'll have more energy. When I started to see real critical breakthroughs in my own emotional flashbacks back in 2017, I likened the experience and the feeling I was looking for when I was taking cocaine in my 20s. So I subscribe to Gabor Mate's ideas, and there are other people who have the same theory that whatever drug you choose, sometimes what it is you're looking to feel what you didn't feel in childhood, whatever you're thirsting for. Cocaine can give you a sense of self. They say it's the ego drug, and connection with self, and expression of self, and a willingness to be seen that otherwise isn't there. So I noticed I was sleeping less, and you just feel better. Like somatically, you feel better in your body. Your life starts to make sense. You'll notice you will compulsive things that you used to do compulsively that maybe aren't so good, cut off, stop. Because you're only doing those compulsive things because you don't feel good. And if you're feeling okay, you won't do them. Your relationships with people clean up. If you were in a world of conflict and misunderstanding, all of a sudden people are cool and all right with you, and they're happy to sit and chat with you and be your friend. So yeah, there's the indicators like that. Good question. Maya asks, when is it hypersensitivity due to flashbacks, and when is it intuition picking up on cues? This is problematic for me. Well, I can't answer that question because what you're asking me is you're asking me to sort of like float into your brain as like a little fairy and to look through your eyes and go, this is okay, this is not okay, this is okay, this is not okay. Where really what should happen, what we would want to happen is you develop your own little fairy in your head that tells you when we're flashbacking hard, it's very difficult to see the difference between genuine people and authentic people. And if we're flashbacking hard and we have the proclivity for it, we can know intellectually that somebody's not really okay, not authentic, and still hang out with them and work with them and spend time with them. So reducing the emotional flashbacks, developing the emotional literacy clarifies the perception. You'll feel better and you'll see more clearly. When you've done, look, the thing I would say about this is I've tried multiple systems of self-development, meditation, chanting, visualization, psychedelics. Nothing consistently gave me the feeling comes that like these Satori clear vision enlightenment moments, as nothing gave me such strong experiences of that so consistently. Doing the emotional literacy exercise, doing emotional literacy exercise, it's like somebody's taking webs off your face. And 40 minutes later, you'll be like, vision's back. I can see. I don't have, because otherwise you're like, I'm questioning. I don't know. Maybe. And they said this and I did. Islam called Wasa 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 Wasa. And it's typified or mythologized as, you know, the oppressor, the opposer, Shaitan is on your shoulder, in your ear. They don't like you. Nobody likes you. You don't like them. They're weird. Which is mythologizing of the inner and outer critic, to use Pete Walker's term. But yeah, I've been there. I've been there. Emotional literacy will wipe that. It will wipe out. But you got to do it. You got to do it, kid. You got to do it. Got a lot of potential. How do you? Oh, here we go. Manuela B. How to process the grief of people disappointing you? You guys already know the answer to that one now. Emotional literacy, man. You got to let the grief express itself in a way that is nuanced and specific, and then you will have processed it. The emotions won't have anything new to send to you because they're just messengers. Makes me feel tough. Does resonate 222. Good man. Flavor Pro Jennifer Jarvis says, Richard, is there any advice on doing your programs for an autistic woman with ID with 11 personalities? Well, with their own trauma memories and DFBs, and all with trouble identifying internal emotion? No, no advice from me on something like that. You should see somebody who's a specialist in ID. If there are discrete personalities with discrete memories and discrete emotions and discrete flashbacks, separate from each other, you need to see a specialist. You're being very generous with your time. Thanks. You're very welcome, Kathy. I must go soon now because it is tempo a bailar. Time for me to go and do some bachata in a minute. I'll take one more question and then I'm going to bounce. Omnia mutantur. Can you address the role of the body? Hormone. I get state management, but something, puberty, menopause, are not under conscious control. How do you separate emotion, EF, and physiology? Well, I would ask you this question: to what extent is your hormones? Are your hormones within your conscious control? Are obviously not within conscious control, but they're not outside of conscious control totally either. So we mustn't fall into the trap of using hormone, neurotransmitters, chemical imbalance, and basically bad science as a hold all for a problem. We mustn't do that. It's a trap. There's another trap, which is to ignore the role of physiology, of hormone, of neurotransmitters, and everything else. When you are tired, when you are hungover, when you are stressed out, or you didn't eat enough of something that you need, like iodine or calcium or zinc or something, you as a physical and mental being, because these things are not split, it's all the same entity, are not going to function as well as you would otherwise. You are going to be more vulnerable to stress. You know, I just did an interview with Danny on the main channel. My mate Danny's a personal trainer, and he was explaining to me about the luteal phase of the menstrual cycle, and you know, the fact that it's physically observable that most women burn an extra 300 calories every day. And I was blown away by that, because that's indicator that something fair, like for most, 300 extra calories a day. So he was like, I think he told me it was like 6 to 9%, literature said, of their overall resting metabolic rate. It would increase by 6 to 9%. That's a lot. That's a lot. That means your body is really doing something, because it does that for 2 weeks. Like, wow, there's a lot going on there. That is going to impact how you feel for sure. So where do we draw the boundary with this stuff? Where do we do that? Where do we say, okay, state management doesn't account for hormone? Well, it does. It does, because if you're going to bed at a decent time and getting your 8 hours, sorry, 8 hours, did he say? It sounded like he just said 8 hours. Yeah, 8 hours unbroken, by the way. Listen, I'm on it this week. I'm asking everybody who will take it how much sleep they're getting. Anybody says anything to me like, oh, I feel this way, or in the gym, they're like, I don't feel very good, or oh, I'm stressed out. Like, how much sleep are you getting? I'm getting 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 4 hours. And I'm like, you can't live like that. You're not evolved for that. And people with CPTSD, or everybody has CPTSD, everybody's traumatized to a degree. Your life is affected by mental health issues. You need to be getting your 8 hours. That has an impact on your hormone. That has an impact on your neurotransmitters. That's going to affect your serotonin. And then there's food, and there's exercise. Those are things we can do. Things that make you happy affect your hormone. Things that make you sad affect your hormone. So there is a part of it as well. I think it's good to never forget that we are physical entities. We're not floating brains off somewhere. Sometimes the solutions will be both mental and physical. But maybe my parting words would be to everybody: you all need 8 hours a night. It's not from 4 in the morning until 12 midnight. It's not going to work. 11 till 7. 11 till 7 is the roughly, it could be 10 till 6, 11 till 7, 12 till 8 maybe, but it's around there when noise outside stops and everybody goes to bed and it gets quiet and it gets dark. That's the time for you to get quiet, get dark, and go to sleep. And then when the sun comes out and the birds start going tweet, 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 that's the time to wake up. Broken. It'll change your life. If you're suffering with any major mental health issue and you haven't tried fixing it, eradicating caffeine and getting 7 days back to, or not eradicate it, but ameliorate it, 7 days back to back, 8 hours a night, your body is like a dog. It likes repetition. It likes to do the same thing at the same time. Wake up at the same time, go to sleep at the same time, 7 days back to back. I'll give you 7 hours. If you only get 7 hours, I'll let you off. But 7 to 8 hours of unbroken. You haven't tried that. Don't waste your time with therapy, that seminar, this guru, that teacher. You're wasting your time. Sleep. 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 You need to sleep. You got to sleep. You got to sleep. That's how your body fixes itself and gets ready for the day. Come at me. I'm ready now. If you're not doing that, it's don't come at me. It's not good. It's really not good. So yeah, we're going to do what we can to support ourselves in this mission. You ask good questions. It's easier like this when there's fewer people on. It's not like it stresses me out when there's chat going the whole time. And you made me think. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much for your time and your attention. And I look forward to speaking to you all again soon on the main channel. I'm going to release a new video in the Fortress Mental Health Protection System series, I think on Monday. If you've not signed up to the mailing list yet, please make sure that you do. It is.